Now moving on to another example here, we have detailed scores of each of these students, and that's for 4 subjects. Now this time I would like to know whether the student has passed or failed. And we can determine that only when the student would have scored 50 or more in each and every subject, only then the student is considered to have passed. Using the if function would be troublesome here, but then if I were to use ifs function, and within the ifs function, if I say is 77 greater than or equal to 50, and then I lock the reference, I say pass, and then is 65 greater than or equal to 50, and then again say pass, and then counting greater than or equal to 50, and then call it pass. So far, let me just test this out over here, okay? You see, overall the student has passed. Now, so far we have just tested 3 subjects, that is economics, statistics, and accounting. So we only have marketing left. Let me also do that. Is 68 greater than or equal to 50? And mention it as pass. I would like to test this function if it is working proper. So let's say in accounting, I just give 40. Now 40 means fail. So that means the student should be overall considered as failed. I hit enter, and you see the total scores change, everything changes, but this remains the same. What happened here? Let me undo the score. Yes. Let's revisit this function. Here I say if 77 is greater than or equal to 50, then pass. Well, yes, that's true. It's greater than 50. Which is true. Now ifs function sees the moment you have the test condition which returns the result as true, it immediately executes the task that you have assigned to it and exits this function. So it no longer checks whether the student has passed or failed in other subjects. So this approach of using the ifs function does not help. So now we need to try a different way. So I'll clear this and say ifs 77 is less than 50 and lock the cell, then declare as fail. Then if 65 is less than 50, then lock that as, then declare as fail. If accounting is less than 50, again, lock the reference and declare as fail. Ensure that whatever text that you need, pass or fail, true or false, right or wrong, not true or false, but right or wrong, correct, incorrect, all these are form of text and they have to be entered within double quotes. Next, we have marketing, less than 50, lock the reference and then declare as fail. Finally, close the bracket and take a look. Here it gives you the hash any error. Why? Well, let me tell you, this function did its job. If I were to copy this and paste it here, it shows as fail. What exactly happened here? First it checks, is C10 less than 50? Yes. That means the student has failed and hence I don't need to bother about checking the rest of subjects. Overall, the student has failed. And that's what it does. Now in this case over here, let's say for accounting, if I were to enter 40, it shows as fail. Why? Is C3 less than 50? No. Hence it tests the second condition. Is D3 less than 50? No. So third condition, is 40 less than 50? Yes. Hence return as fail. But earlier, had it not been 40 but 80, which was the initial score, then it checks 77, no. 66 or 65 less than 50, no. Is 80 less than 50? No. And what about 68? Is it less than 50? No. So that means none of these conditions are fit to be declared as fail. Hence, it should be passed. But how do we get the pass? We did not specify what if none of the 4 conditions are matched? Since Excel fails to identify, or since we did not give any command to Excel to execute when none of these conditions match, Excel returns the #NA error. Now, if this is a legitimate error, that means your function is appropriate and nothing can be done about it, then we do have some function called, we have the if error function, which we have already discussed in basic Excel. Well, likewise, we also have the if NA function, if NA. Okay, I would encapsulate this function within the if NA. Let me show you how. I say if NA, and we have this entire function here, the ifs function. And what if it is NA? Either I can say pass and close the bracket, we have this. Or maybe you do not want to see a pass or fail, just a blank, that should be fine. You will only get the list of students which have failed. That's 2 of them, but the rest of them are blank. Okay, but I do not recommend depending on 2 set of functions at a time. What if I do not want to use 2 functions? I just want to use the ifs function and nothing else. How do I work with it? And I want to see the pass one as well. So here under this, just as how we select first, we have a logical test, and then the value, if this test is true, logical test 2, and value 2, logical test 3, and value for 3, 4, and value is 4. Now finally, I would want to say if none of the cases, that then it must be that the student has cleared in all the subjects. So I just enter true. That is for logical test 5. Now any of these logical tests, like I mentioned earlier, returns the result as true or false. So this time I'm directly entering true. And what if it is mentioned true? I say pass. Okay. Now on the way, while testing each of these conditions, if any one of these return true, then automatically Excel will execute the value immediately next to it. That would be one of the fail. But if none of these are matching, then finally Excel will come here and see a true. So by default, it will assign as pass. I hit enter, it's a pass. Let's apply this function down and see. Well, we have this. It's so very straightforward. All we did was check through each of these. We know that this condition is not true, so it would have been false. It's false. This is also not true, hence this behind the scene what Excel would have done and return to ifs function is what I'm showing to you. This again would have been a false, and then this finally would have been false. So the function that we had worked on, let me come out of this, it would have been something like this. First condition, it's false. So if false, then fail, false, nothing. Okay, if false, do nothing, false, nothing, because fail would be executed or displayed only when this was true. False, 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 and finally there is true, so pass. That's how it shows. What if I did not want to show pass, but exempted? For example, exempted, see? That's all to it. So this is a different way or another way of how you can use the if function, the ifs function, and you get this. Let me just undo this to pass or fail, and here we get this.